Hello everybody, I hope you're having a good day wherever you're in the world, and I am lucky. Now, if you're wondering why I'm saying this quite patronisingly and quite demoralising way of saying I'm lucky, then I have taken inspiration from a video by the wonderful Jessica Kellgren-Fozard. I will link her in the description below. She is wonderful for people who want a bit of advice and want to talk about how the world is treating people with disabilities or deafness. Now, I have been the receiver of so many patronising, self-loathing and demoralising comments over the years describing how I am so lucky or so special or it's wonderful that you survived cancer. Is it? Let me just think about this. I fought my life for 18 months on chemo, radiotherapy. I fought pretty much every single day. I am lucky to be here. In some ways, yes I am. You know, the treatment did work and I am here in front of this camera talking to you in a nice way. But the problem is saying the words I'm lucky when I still have countless and countless side effects from this god-awful treatment is kind of patronising, and I know some people who have gone through the journeys of their own like to be called this, and that is absolutely fine. I don't want to offend anyone. However, to me, saying that I'm lucky or goodness me, you are so special, just very offensive and very insensitive as well, and I don't feel very happy when someone gives me that compliment. If someone gives me a compliment, I'm assuming they're talking about the way I look or what I'm wearing, not the fact that I am lucky to have survived a stage 4 neuroblastoma and still be here with many side effects that are crippling me at the moment and making me practically disabled to do things. So I thought it would be an interesting video to talk about why saying these words is not a good thing and the other experiences I have been through, because the list is countless. So there are names in the disabled community that have been passed around over generations. Some of these are nice nicknames and some of these are goddamn awful, insensitively, horribly, demoralisingly wrong. And these words come from people who either do not like the disabled community, do not like the deaf community, do not like a person who has disabilities altogether, or the person is just not thinking straight. And we have the right idea of trying to burn these phrases up into hell's whole ground. Now, some of these names nicknamed from what I used to be called, which was Deafy. I actually got called that, I'm pretty sure, when I was in nursery. And some other names go to the lines of spaz or spastic. So you can kind of see why these are insensitive. I know there are so many more, but if I put any more in, I am going to be kind of crying after this session. Why they are wrong? Why are these names? Where did they come from? I don't know. However, they sound awful. And to call someone this, if they're in a wheelchair, if they are not, if they have a disability in general, it is wrong to call people these names. Why, you may ask? Well, let's think. I'm not entirely certain that the world is a bad place. However, I have been called nicknames over the years that I have been alive and years that I survived treatment from cancer. And let me tell you this now, being called these names are horrible. I don't like them. And being called these names by professionals in hospital, oh, there we go, this is what we're on to. It's not a nice thing to say. If you are trying to nickname a disabled person or a person with disabilities, please shove your foot in the front door. I would much like it if people did not call us as a culture names that do not actually mean anything but are vilely and awfully horrible. There is another thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is assistance. Now, if you go abroad or you go into London or you go to a train station, you can book something called assistance. So it's disability assistance, so someone can meet you at the station or meet you at the airport and they can take you onto the train or onto the plane and assist you from point A to point B. It is a wonderful service, and I have to say I'm fully grateful that this is under the European Disability Act, I think it is, where people who are disabled are entitled to assistance, which is brilliant. I love it. If I'm having a really bad day and have a wheelchair, I can get assistance to get on the train to London and get assistance from that train into St Pancras or Victoria, and it is just a wonderful service and I cannot fault it. However, there have been some scenarios over the past few months that have likened me to think, this isn't right, this is not right at all, and I have had the odd experience at my own train station. Basically, people do not respect you as a person in general. So if you are in a wheelchair and you are trying to find your way around the station that you do not know, and you need to get off or on a train, people will put a ramp on for you. It's a wonderful service and I love it so much. However, I was at St Pancras station a few months ago. It was rush hour, so I expected it to be busy, and as they put the ramp on the train, people started going in front of me up the ramp and trying to sit in a disabled spot. Now, this has happened countless times when I've been at my own station or in London. It annoys me. It's also quite patronising that you cannot wait 2 minutes for me to get on the train and then get on yourself. I understand it's rush hour, you want to get home and see your family or just get home in general, but when there is a disabled person or a person who needs assistance in front of you, please, for the love of God, please just let them go first. It is not going to hold you up any longer than it will if you stand in a rush hour queue in the middle of a tube station. It's not going to hold you up that long. We're not really slow, we're not incapable of doing things. We just take a little bit more time than you to get on the train. So, quote me on this, if you ever see a disabled person who is having a ramp put up for them, do not, and I repeat, do not step in front of them, because that is insensitive and quite awfully rude, and it is actually quite demoralising knowing that there are people in this world who won't wait 2 minutes for me to get on the train, park in my spot, and then themselves get on. It's a nightmare in general, and I don't like it. However, there are things in this world that are wonderful. Assistance is one thing where you can get alarmed if your train is nearby or if your plane is nearby. You can have so many things at your fingertips now, and it is wonderful to know that these things actually are available. The problem is that this whole community from the disabled community, whether you are a carer for a disabled person or whether you are a carer for a special needs person, I'm not entirely sure what to name these people because I know so many people have different preferences. For me, I like being just called my identity. So I am Molly, I am deaf. I don't really like people pointing out immediately, why are you deaf? It's quite a patronising comment in a way, and I'm not sure that to make an open introduction that's what you should say. I think communication is a massive barrier in the non-disabled and disabled community or special needs community. It is very hard because I know that there are two examples of what I'm about to say. There is two examples and I'm going to use them from Jessica's video because they are brilliant. So naturally, if you are a special needs child, you have some disabilities or some issues with your health in general, and that is fine. So we call them special needs children. Now, there is also another thing. There is a special needs teacher. Now, normally you would associate this with a teacher who has studied the special needs or disabilities over the years and they are caring for these children. But why are they never associated as a disabled teacher? That doesn't make sense. If we're calling a child special needs and then we're calling a teacher special needs as well, surely those two interlink and they have some sort of common ground, not that one is different from the other. One is in perfect health condition and one is not. So it troubles me to ask, where did these names come from? I'm not entirely sure because going back centuries ago, people with disabilities have been around for a very long time, so obviously these names came from somewhere. I have no idea where, and I'd like to find out who actually came up with them, because I remember in school I was put under the, I I was meant to be put under a special needs circumstance, and I never did, because they saw me as a very knowledgeable and very healthy person, which to you now I am. I mean, I look fairly healthy, but this is a good amount of makeup and a good amount of energy to get up and film this video. So I have no idea why people in general take names and then throw them at us by saying, oh yeah, you're deaf, or oh yeah, you can't do this because you're disabled. It's not funny, and it, quite frankly, it's not acceptable in our community. You know, I wouldn't fight a deaf person to say what identity they call themselves. So to me, I would ask someone what they would like to be called, and if they say, well, just my name, I'm not really associated with my disability, that's fine. I wouldn't go up to someone and then blatantly point out what instruments they're using or how different they look. That's not in me, and that's not in anyone, but it comes from somewhere, and I don't know where, but I'd like to find out where and just strangle. Maybe that's not the point I'm trying to make, but it does confuse me how society has gone into this world now where we think it's acceptable to laugh and mock disabled people or point out or avoid or do nasty things, and you just, as a disabled person, as a person with a disability, I think that blatantly rude, and I think it should be illegal in some cases, but I don't make the laws. I do feel like there is some problems elsewhere as well. I know so many people who have been through so much and who are a lot worse than I am, and it does hurt to know that people are very insensitive and cruel and call these nicknames as a fun gesture, or oh well, that's your disability, you must be known as this. No, we're not. We're just known as people. Everybody has an identity, whether you are a person who likes to bake or whether you are a person with a disability. You have an identity with people around you, so to a stranger you are just a person. However, this context has been taken out of literal sense and being mocked and joked and pointed at and stared at, and it's not intelligent enough in this community, because we all hold knowledge, we all know that, and from a base level, to be nice to someone, you would let them go first, or you would be nice to them and ask if they need any help, not walk in front of them, or not walk so slowly that when your parents are pushing your own wheelchair, they have to avoid that person and then go around them, and then other people do the same thing. I know that's not on purpose, however, some people have been so blatantly rude to me, I cannot help but feel so sorry for the people who are like me or worse off than me, and it hurts to know that there are people who do this on purpose and find some sort of joy out of it. I mean, where does that come from? You know, you grow up in a world where everyone's supposed to be equal, and then you get this person who's like, oh yes, I must mock the disabled. That's not right. That's not in any case actually allowed. You know, you could be put in jail probably for offending someone like that, and I mean, my god, the offensiveness from people I've had over the years is quite a lot. So to have somebody who knows you very well, or someone who doesn't know you very well, to come up to you and say, oh, how's you doing, how's you doing, how's you doing, how's your health doing, how's your mental health doing, it's not really a conversation opener, really. It's more, hi, how are you? Rather than, oh look, you're disabled, you're in a wheelchair, that's funny. No, it's not. No, it's completely irrelevant. So I don't understand why the non-disabled community start attacking us, because we can't do anything. And to be honest, I get severely embarrassed when people start pointing out to myself on a train, you know, how long have you been in a wheelchair for? Or I'm really sorry that you have to be in a wheelchair, or I'm really sorry that you're going through this, but you know, it might work out for the better. do you say this to every disabled person? Because if you do, I can see why they get easily offended. It doesn't make sense where this all came from, and I don't know why I'm rambling on about it, but it does make me wonder why people are being blatantly rude and open about it, and they're comfortable with that. And I think in some respects there is no boundaries for people who are not disabled, but for people who are disabled to do something, they have boundaries. You know, for me, some days I can walk a good few miles, and other days I'm bedridden in bed because I'm in agony, in pain, and I can't do things. That means I'm disabled to do something. So in all cases, I know I'm not permanently disabled. In a way, I am technically disabled to do things. I'm disabled to hear, I'm disabled to remember things, I'm disabled to walk a certain distance without it hurting or going in a wheelchair. So in all cases, that should be respected in anyone's likelihood. I wouldn't go up to someone and say, that's a nice leg you have, or that's a nice, you know, stick you have. You know, I'm quite a sensitive person. I know where these things come and go and what's the right thing to say. I hope I do anyway. But I think the point I'm trying to put across is that, you know, over the years I've had these comments, and that I know people who have had a lot worse than I have had. So in all cases, it needs to be addressed. And the point being across that it's not okay to call someone special or lucky or acknowledge that they have a disability right in front of them. You know, I don't acknowledge that. I acknowledge the person for who they are. I hope I do anyway. But it annoys me and it frustrates me that over the past few months that I've had this kind of intolerable behaviour put against me and my family, and it hurts. It really hurts, and I just don't know what to do anymore. And I find it quite rude. So if you are a person in the non-disabled community and you fire out all these comments thinking that they don't mean anything, shut your mouth. It may not mean anything to you, but to a disabled person or to a deaf person or to a person who has mental health issues or disabilities, it is violently offensive and insensitive, demoralising, patronising, and just every nasty word I can think of. It is horrible, and quite frankly, I do not tolerate that kind of behaviour. I like to stand up for myself, give people a voice, which is why I'm doing this video now. But for people who are not very acknowledging of the disabled community, I think you should just keep things to yourself. You know, let people go on the plane first, let people go on the train first. You know, we're not going to get on the train and then the train leaves the station. That's not what we do. I think in some ways, if you see a disabled person or you see a person in a wheelchair or with hearing aids or with anything, don't acknowledge that they have an aid to help them. Just acknowledge that they are a person exactly like you. And if you are thinking about saying any of these violently hateful comments, don't. You know, keep them to yourself. Let them just wallow in you, and just please don't say them, because they may not mean anything to you, but they do mean an awful lot to us, because we have to put up with it. We have to put up with the crossing in front of people in a wheelchair. We have to put up with the people sighing behind us because we're getting on first, or we have to put up with the fact that we apparently get more privileges than most people. It's not like that. I mean, boy, if we got more privileges, we'd be more privileged than you altogether. But we haven't got privileges. What we've got is a human body that is disabled to do something. So before you think about crossing in front of someone in the road or looking down at someone and going, just be mindful that that person has a brain too, and they can interpret what you're saying and get very easily offended by that. Whether you mean a nice comment like, you're so special to be lucky and to have survived cancer, yay! I don't care. Whenever you say those comments, whenever you say I'm so lucky to be alive, or whenever you say, you know, this won't last too long, or, you know, you'll be better soon, don't say those comments. They mean an awful lot to us as a community, and you know, pointing and staring will not help the issue. It will just raise more awareness that there are people who are absolute. So the point I'm trying to put across is just be nice. Kindness over nastiness is a better and effective way of living our life. And no matter how many things you say and how many times you cover up what you're about to say, if you say it and mean it, then we'll just ignore you. We'll just say, well, that was a nasty comment, wasn't expecting that. Or maybe we were. But the problem is this world is fueled by nastiness. You know, we have social media and a context in the papers, you know, papers are screaming and shouting, you know, this will cause cancer, this will cause this, if you eat this you might become disabled, or, you know, this person, you know, lost a limb or something, and, you know, it's perfectly fine, you know, it's all a lie. It's all a lie. And no, cauliflowers don't cause cancer, they're a vegetable. Probably, in most cases, I don't listen to the news because I have deleted every news source app on my phone because I know that what I'm reading is false information, you know, it's clickbaity articles and it's stuff like that that fuels people to say insensitive things to people who have feelings and emotions. So whether you are the carer or the parent or the brother or sister or the wife or husband of someone who is disabled, I know it's hard, but try not to. If it is violently and hatefully a comment that is very blatantly rude, report it and make sure it gets reported to either the person nearest you or a police station. You can then file I think it's a hate report against them, but if they just say something like, I don't know, oh, you're deaf, and just leave it as that, just try and ignore them. I know I have, and it's been a long 13 years for me because I don't like those comments. I despise them. So I think in all best cases, try and resolve the situation yourself, you know. Go, well, what's the difference between me and you? Absolutely nothing. You know, I may have hearing aids or a wheelchair or an aid to help me eat or drink, but that doesn't make me any different from you. So to put a comment like that back in their face might effectively work. However, I wouldn't suggest, you know, conjuring up all the anger inside you and then like violently throwing another comment back, because that just makes you just as bad. But I know it's a confusing world, and I know that all these things are just bubbling away in all our heads and just making us feel a little bit different, a little bit. But I do hope that has kind of addressed some issues and some ways and context, and just an advice for the end: don't be a hateful person. If you liked this video, please do click like and share around, make sure it gets to as many people as possible. If you're also new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the notification bell so you do not miss a video. And that is it for now. I hope you've enjoyed. I know it was more of a rant rather than an advice video, but there we go. I did give some advice actually, I'm pretty pleased about that. But yeah, this is it for now guys, and I will see you on Sunday. Goodbye.